It's like trying to win a car race.
Should be a good one.
And as you're driving, saying, hey, make it run better.
You could have a posse of waifus.
Starting off kind of strangely.
Slaying the land.
Welcome to the show.
This is insanity.
Taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week.
This info is pretty shocking.
Somebody's got to give an answer to this.
This is Augmented Reality.
You are watching my favorite channel.
I've not heard of them.
The Triple S League. Enjoy, guys.
Hey everybody, welcome to Augmented Reality, your source for news, leaks, and analysis of games in the gaming industry, coming at you live on YouTube and Twitch and archived almost anywhere you can find podcasts. This is Ash here, with Subsidian and Mootag, as always, and probably some cats. I don't know, what's the cat situation tonight?
Luna has abandoned me for better pastures, apparently.
Well,
she's just like, mother.
She's just like,
mother,
peace out. I've had enough of being
like,
your
I
pawn.
have better places to be.
Yeah.
But Commander's hanging out. She's in the cat tower. I'm so pleased. Oh, she just stretched her paw at me.
All right,
Thank
and
you.
if
I
you
accept
are
these beans.
if you are listening live this fine evening or during the day, if you are way to the east of us, thank you for joining us. Please do say hello in the live chat. Send us your questions and comments, and we'll read and respond to as many as we can throughout the podcast. And of course, don't forget to slam that like button. Likes it rough. And it tells us and YouTube that you appreciate this content. So hello to everybody. Yes, Arturo, we are all here. Hello, Funky and Catriox and whoever else is listening live, YouTube and Twitch. Every Tuesday night / Wednesday we do this podcast. So yeah, the weekly gaming news. And tonight / today we will be discussing a few interesting things. Syb's been playing Fallout 76 for a week and is still alive. So that's a good sign. His processor didn't crash from playing it. So he's going to give a report on how the game has potentially, well, I haven't heard from him at all yet, any of his impressions. So I don't know if he's going to say that it's crap or that it's really, really improved. We will find out. We're also going to talk about the return of Gygax. Gary Gygax. His zombie has been found. No, his original company. I kind of feel bad saying that now.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm like, that's really rude.
He is a beloved figure, obviously. Anyway, his son has kind of resurrected his original company, so we'll talk about that a little bit. Plus, EA has an established IP that they're planning to revive. What is that? I don't know. We'll discuss that too. And of course, if you have any other topics that we can fit into this hour-long podcast, let us know and we'll try to get to them. So Funky says, I have a problem with people reviewing a game 2 years after its release just because the game has finally become okay. What's your problem with that? I mean, genuinely curious.
I have a problem with it too. And I mean, I don't want to get into that too much because everybody knows that this game was garbage when it came out, but the concept of it was not garbage. And that's what we need to have a discussion about, because if this was a no-name IP, like if Starfield is absolute crap, I will never care about Starfield. Just like I do not care about the world of Anthem. I do not give a crap about those stupid, what are they, mercenaries that are somehow the key component to the survival of humanity. We don't call those, mercenaries. We usually call those heroes. But, whatever. It's a garbage storyline. I don't think that the Fallout universe is a garbage storyline. And part of the reason why it stung so much when Bethesda released this piece of garbage was that they clearly didn't care about the lore. I mean, a whole world where there was no story, like where there was no NPCs, no interaction. And now as you're like, well, then why cover it? Well, because they said sorry, because they apologized, because Todd Howard opened himself to lawsuits by saying there wasn't very much that we did not screw up when it came to 76. And that is an open level of honesty that I feel merits at least a second play. And for this reason, not only for that reason, but also for the reason that we've got Starfield coming out. We're going to be playing Starfield in like a year and a half, which is a ridiculously long time. But we're going to be playing that at the end of next year. So, am I interested in seeing where exactly Bethesda is when it comes to making a correction for a massive error? Yes, because if 76 is still garbage, they clearly don't care about the community, and it's absolute trash, then I could not, in my right mind, encourage or even suggest that people try Starfield. Because if it screws up, if it messes up, then all of that effort is just going to vanish, just like with Anthem. All of the people who rallied around Anthem for years did so to their own stupidity and to the greed of that corporation EA, because they wrote a narrative, then they trashed half of the writing from one of the best writers in the gaming universe, and then they left it, and then they abandoned the players. Like, that's bad. Like, they can't even afford to put one guy or two guys writing more story, engaging a little bit more with no, they can't do that. So that's why I want to know, is 76 good or not? And that's my reasoning for it. It's not because I'm like, hey, well, let's get back into Bethesda's good books. Well, we never really were in their good books. I mean, we never had anybody from their company reach out to us at all.
We have never been in touch with it.
Which is crazy sad, because we still have one of the biggest videos on YouTube, and one of the most key videos in YouTube in Fallout 4's like the evolution of what that game was. I mean, we still have one of the most important videos on that. We also have one of the biggest mods for Fallout 4. One of the biggest mods. So am I invested in the Fallout storyline? Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, I wrote a massive part of what the biggest mod out there. It's one of the greatest mods that of course I would say it of my own work, but I think it's one of the best mods there is. As far as storyline, I suggest that you play it, because it changes. Not only does it change the way that Fallout 4 ends, it changes the outcome of a lot of the characters, and it really embraces that. So yes, am I invested? I'm very invested. I'm extremely invested in making sure that Fallout survives and is revitalized at some point. I don't want Fallout 5 to be a footnote or to never happen. I want Fallout 5 to be functional, and I want Bethesda to have learned from their mistakes. Does that mean that I'm okay with the mistakes that they made? No, but it's like, we have to move on at some point. We can't continue to hate somebody because they messed up once, especially when they've said sorry. Now, if they never said sorry and they never apologized, that's different, right? That's what is the term? Ash, you should know this. What's the term for unearned forgiveness?
Unearned forgiveness?
Yeah.
Well, if you're speaking in a theological sense, it's grace, but
So grace would be me saying, well, they never apologized, but I'm going to forgive them anyways. That person hurt me, but I'm gonna keep the door open for them all the time. That guy stabbed me in the back, but I'm going to keep that lighthouse burning so he doesn't crash to death on crash on the shores and then drown to death, or drown. Why do I keep saying to death?
Drown to death. I'm going to kill him to death.
So there's a difference, obviously, right? There's forgiveness that is like, hey, I'm really sorry, I screwed up. I've learned my lesson, and I want to apologize. Like, I believe when somebody's saying that and they mean it, you don't have to welcome them back into your home. You don't have to start up your business relationship again. You don't have to do any of that stuff. And depending on how much they hurt you, it may take you a while to say, I accept that apology. But I sincerely believe that you have to, at some point, for your own mental health, accept that apology, not necessarily confirm them in their choices, obviously, right? But for your own mental health, you have to at some point say, all right, you know what? I'm moving on from this because the only thing that serves me by holding on to this hate is holding on to the hate. And I think that there's a deeper discussion to be had there when it's a personal, like, physical violence that's perpetrated against somebody versus a video game screwing up.
Well, of course.
I mean, those are two vastly different things, and I would never, I would never want to speak for somebody's emotionality when it comes to like a physical trauma, but I'm also suggesting that people, can move on from a bad video game release. Because again, if they said sorry, then we can say, all right, now did you mean it? Am I going to...
Did he say sorry, though? I mean, Funky has a point. Did he say sorry, or did he just acknowledge the problem? Like, there's a difference.
Well, again, because of that, we've had this discussion before about how exactly you can say sorry in a corporate mindset. And in some cases, if you were to come out and say, sorry, we intentionally did this, you open yourself up to every lawsuit that you can think about, and a lot of them that you didn't even know existed. So, and there are some companies that their reaction to you to say, the reaction to say a CEO taking accountability for making a horrendous mistake, their reaction to that is to literally say, yes, that person's entirely to blame and we're firing them and they will never work for us again. So can he say that? Not really. Not in the way that some people think or want or hope to hear, that kind of stuff. It's not necessarily what is an option, right? So he has to do some corporate speak. And as far as corporate speak goes, what he said is the equivalent of, I'm really sorry we screwed up big time.
Okay.
That's the equivalent. And again, I'm not, like, I know some people want to call, foul and they want to be like, you hurt me. And again, I understand that. And here's the shocker to my review. It's the same thing that when we talked about last time, when I gave Fallout 76 a try about a year ago at this point. And that was that, yeah, I would never encourage anybody to buy this game right now. I'm still not encouraging anybody to go out and buy this game right now unless they are a massive Fallout fan. If you are a massive Fallout fan, you might want to pick this up. If you are not a massive Fallout fan, then I would highly recommend that you do not. If you are just a general fan of the genre, again, I would recommend that you do not. If you are somebody who is interested and wants to check it out, I would recommend waiting until the next expansion or the one after that. Most likely the one after that. So the one that's coming out in late fall, later. At the rate they're going, mid-fall, actually. It'll be about mid-fall. Yeah, I would recommend that. So that's the end skinny on it. So now let's get into the meat. Why did I review this game other than the reasons that I already stated? And one of those big things is the announcement about expeditions. What are expeditions? Fallout 76 is doing expeditions where they're introducing locations that are important to the history of Fallout that are, as I understand it currently, is a narrative story played out by the player that can play with friends, but it's designed to be played single player. That's more or less what I'm getting. They already have a team-based daily system that's fairly popular. Allows people to really get in there and fight some very difficult challenges. That's one thing, but this is different. This is more story focused and more story orientated. And what does this mean? This means that we might get a peek into some of the locations and characters early on in the Fallout mythos that is going to be handled, what I would say, very well. And that's why I'm the most interested in 76 right now, because 76 is taking the player character into places in the world this is still fairly early on in the history of, this is very, very early on in the history of the world of, the Fallout, all the stuff happening. Most of the vaults are still sealed. Even the ones that are, horrendous experiments. Some of those horrendous experiments still haven't even turned on yet. But we are going to be given the chance to see some of these locations, to see some of these events, possibly, and that is very, very interesting. They announced their plan for the game right now. So they announced the plan for the game. They have been given funding, power, approval, and story, the ability to alter story for 5 more years. That's why that made my eyebrow go, like, you guys all know that the Tim, I don't know if people remember this, Tim the Tool Man Taylor, remember that show, Home Improvement?
Oh,
And,
hell yeah.
his
Yeah.
eyebrow would go, "Huh?" And he'd do this grunt and he'd go, "Huh?" Like, that is exactly what went through my mind when I saw at first I thought it was, like, very early on, I saw what they were prepping, and for a second I thought that they were announcing a remaster to Fallout 3. And I was like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." But no, it's the stories, because I've been hearing that they've been preparing to do short stories, or a short work, like small work, not short stories. That there was a team doing small focused story content. And to me, like, the way that it was phrased, I wondered if it was a remake, and there's been a lot of rumors about a Fallout 3 remake floating around for a while. Turns out this is what the rumors were for. So we're going back to locations that are in the Fallout 3, Fallout 2, possibly Fallout 1 and 2, mostly Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. We're going to those locations earlier in the time frame to look around, poke around. In some cases, this is over 100 years before some of the other stories happen. So we may end up seeing Harold, in the very early days of his, like, him getting that tree in his head, or maybe even before he's got the tree in his head. We might be seeing what went down at Mariposa. There's a ton of stuff. We might see the foundation of the cult. We might see, like, there's 100 different things that is very interesting. And this team has been given 5 years to do, basically, to enact this story and concept. So Fallout 76 is going to be supported for the next 5 years, because the numbers on the game are high, and that's also impressive. There's, in some cases, there's more people playing 76 than there are people playing Sea of Thieves and a couple other games that they got going. So that's good. Those are, like, really good numbers. That means that both Microsoft and Bethesda are interested and willing to continue to push this. So if it's a success, there's obviously more things that we can end up, potentially seeing. Things like, perhaps we'll see, way better single servers, or single player servers, or community servers where you can access it and mess around with rules, modding and stuff like that. They have a very passive thing where it's like, no, you can't mod the game, but if you mod the game without, like, breaking the game, just by offering some, like, one-sided, like, minor fixes that don't actually affect gameplay, they tend to turn the other, they tend to look away. If you're copying, if you're duping or causing other, massive problems to game balance, then you'll find your way to a very quick ban. But if you're just modding, like, a handful of light things, UI, stuff like that, they haven't come down hard yet, from as far as what I've been hearing from the community, which is great, because that again, that opens the door to a lot of potential in the world of, like, just trying to, to see where this game can go, and to foster positive community. So that's good. They are still saying that they will allow mods at some point. They're just waiting on, how that's going to be enacted. They have an idea. They're working in that direction, and so let's see. So again, mostly the story content. So I wanted to see where the story content was at, and I got to say that so I tried Wastelanders about a year ago, briefly, for about 3 days. I found it interesting and a definite improvement, but it was still clear that they were still very early on in the process of adding that kind of content. Now, looking at it from this perspective, I gotta say that the existing content for the Steel Dawn, and for what's coming up with their next expansion, which is hitting in about a week and a half, appears to be very good, and they are clearly upping their quality. Every expansion, there's more and more and more quality uh, in this next expansion. There's already some videos showcasing that they've changed the story content so that instead of you just, as the player, just kind of like running around, floating around, doing whatever while NPCs are talking, you're actually going to see actual cutscenes that are built within the game. So you're actually going to see some cool cutscenes, and again, that cutscenes mean more of a focus on story. At least these ones do. They're very much story based things. They're not just flash in the pan kind of stuff. They're like legitimate story things. You're gonna start to love and grow with characters, and then some of them are gonna step on a landmine and explode, that kind of stuff. Not for like your major companions, but like other characters. Already in this one, I was like, I can recruit this young boy. Oh no, not gonna do that because he's going to find himself on the front of a war line somewhere, and I don't think he's going to survive. So I'm like, no, I'm not recruiting you. You're a child. Stay here. Like, not a child, but like, he's a young man. Like, I can do this. I can show my family that they can be proud of me. And I'm like, yeah, if he comes, he's probably going to die. So no, like, not interested. No. So, that kind of stuff, and some other things. So overall, I'm going to say that the game has improved drastically. Each time there's a major story addition, it's a massive improvement. They've been very open with the community. They have been very talkative. If you are an active member in their community, or if you're even a content creator who's got a fairly big following, you will find yourself talking with the devs. You will find yourself engaging in the community. And that is pretty astounding, because of where we were at, 2 years ago, where it was like, did they even care about the community? Did they even bother to like interact with us? No, they didn't. But now this team does. The rules have changed. They're more interested in making communication and communicating with their players than they ever have been before. And so again, that has great value to it. So, yeah. So that's where I'm at.
But how did you find? So you said you don't recommend people rush out and buy the game right now. But how did you find it this week? Like, how was your experience actually playing it?
It's still fairly light on content, as far as like what I would expect from like, a big game, right? Like a big game with big content releases. It's still fairly dry. You can still tell that the world was not designed to have a lot of people in it, but they have been changing those things slowly, changing locations, adding NPCs. There's more breathability to the world, that kind of stuff, but it's still not where I would prefer to have it. So again, if I were showcasing a new player who's like, hey, I'm interested in this, playing a community-based like building game where you gather resources and you fight monsters and that kind of stuff, there are better games out there to play than this one. But at the same time, if you're really interested in Fallout and you really like the Fallout lore, then you could check this out and you will not be bored. Like, there's so much content, so much story to go through, so many unique and interesting NPCs, so many like computers that are trying to kill you constantly. It's just kind of like, wow, that's impressive. I like that. And their story writing has gone from like, non-existent, what I would say that the first release was. I don't care how many journals you had, how many sad stories written on paper, or how many one-sided conversations on a damn holotape that you had. That wasn't story, that wasn't content. in the world where there was no other, living people. That
Yeah.
that wasn't an experience that I would quantify as like, telling a story, because realistically, as far as the context of the universe goes, none of these people's lives matter. Absolutely not. You pick up any story there and it's like, oh, I sacrificed. No, you didn't sacrifice nothing. You got yourself killed. Everybody else died, and now this place is a barren, swept hill. It's like there's nothing here that's remotely interesting. And one of the greatest things that I liked about Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 was that you built Shady Sands. You helped to build Shady Sands. You helped to do, other things, and that impacted the second game. And then those choices that you made in the second game impacted the story as a whole going into Fallout 3 and all the other extra games that they put out, except for that one Brotherhood one, which we will never talk about because that was atrocious. No, not Tactics, the other one, the Xbox one, the Nightmare one. Ugh, what a waste. I hope they uncanonize that and completely scrap that storyline, because that was a waste of Vault Zero. So yeah, all of this stuff means that yeah, there's some good direction here as far as the story goes, but again, not something that I would want to introduce to, somebody who's a gamer who hasn't, they've never played Fallout. They don't know what it's like, or they don't know what I would say play Fallout 1, 2, 3, and 4, and don't touch 76 until well after probably not this expansion that's coming out in 2 weeks, the one after that. That's probably where it's gonna like kick on and be good. As far as the community goes, the community is nice. Like, it's crazy that they built such a game. Like, they built this game for like hardcore, like cruel PvP, and then it turns out that people just like people don't do that. It's so hilarious. They're like you go anywhere. I was walking around and I talked to this random guy, and he's like, "Hey, how are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, good." And he's like, "Do you need anything?" I'm like, "Well, I can use some acid and some other stuff." He's like, "Acid as in like waste acid for
I
crafting?"
was gonna
Not
say
the
this
other
is
kind. Not the other kind. Not the other
this
kind.
is where it takes this is where it takes a
Crafting,
turn.
crafting chemical acid so that I can create more gas fuel. And so he goes, "Oh, here's 2,000." Like, I've been struggling to get like 100, and he just gives me 2,000, and he's like, "There you go. Hey, if you need anything else, just don't hesitate to ask. Add me on the gamer tag." It's like people there are legitimately kind, and they have an interest in interacting with you, the player. So, sorry, you the other players, not the player. You the other players, and they're interested in fostering a community. There was a bunch of people chatting about like life stuff. So yeah, like cool, different, healthy. So again, if you're interested in playing 76, if you're interested in giving it a go, and you already own it, so you're not buying it fresh, you're just booting up the existing copy that you legally own, and you want to give this a go, I would highly recommend to play it with friends. I don't think this is a single player experience still. I think it's quite a ways away from that. But yeah, try playing with friends, and again, if you already have it and if you find it good, then good. If you don't, then wait, because I think waiting is probably the optimal term for this. And yes, I know that this isn't good, but again, if we only expected perfect games to come out immediately, we'd lose a lot, and I don't think the corporations would give a rat's ass. I really don't. I think if we started like, I think if the community of gamers were, I don't think they could possibly be more upset at people like EA. Like, they voted them the worst company in America, in the world, for years. They beat out people who make landmines that specifically target children. That's what EA did. Did they change their practices? Did they change? Well, we got a story on that coming up, but no, for like almost a decade, they gave no shits about that. So either are we willing to accept that? Is that what the norm that we want? Because if we don't allow some room for like growth, that's all we're going to get. it's going to be Activision and EA, and those are going to be the only game companies out there, because they don't give a flying blankety blank on what you think about their games. They don't care. They have never cared, and they have no interest in, well, almost no interest in starting to care. And these are companies that routinely every year have been losing more and more and more players, and their profits have been going up and up and up and up. So again, if that's the world that we're okay with, then that's the world we're going to be stuck with. And again, there's no anger that you can give these companies to make them change their ways. There is legitimately nothing. They have never cared about you at all. Bethesda cares at least enough to say sorry and to try to fix something. That's worth more than 100 EAs. Legitimately, I can't even remember the last EA game I played, but
it's certainly better than the alternative. Yes, that's true. I mean, I think, again, we're walking a delicate line here, because I mean,
it is.
There is a lot of we don't want to send the message that this is okay what they did, but at the same time, we do want to reward them doing the right thing, even if it's the right thing a little bit too late. In reality, this is an early access game that they packaged as a complete release, and it shouldn't have been done that way.
No.
I mean, so much of this could have been circumvented. I mean, okay, not everything. There was some crap outside of the the canvas bags and stuff like that were totally different. Like, there was so much crap around this game. But if they had come out and been honest, this is early access. We're trying stuff. We've never done something like this before. Their player base would probably have been smaller, but would have been much, much better for their reputation. That's my opinion. I mean, we are talking about a counterfactual. Can't prove that. I think it would have been much, much better, but that's not what ZeniMax wanted. ZeniMax was trying to beef up their bottom line so that the company could have been was a juicier fish to sell.
They were going to go public with it. That was the plan that we basically heard from ZeniMax, and then Fallout 76 happened. It dropped their prospective buyout. It dropped it. Like, if they had gone public 2 years before 76 came out, they would have gotten I think it was $70 or $80 a share. And when after 76 came out and the gaming community revolted, they were looking at $30 a share tops. It killed their buyout. It killed their going public idea. They were going to go public, and when they saw those numbers, they said, all right, let's sell it to Microsoft, basically. And then the head dude at ZeniMax died. So,
all right. You are listening to the Augmented Reality Podcast. Glad to see everybody so active in the live chat. If you want to keep the conversation going after the live podcast, we welcome you to join our Discord community. Check it out. You can find the link in the description below. It's a great place to talk to us and talk to other people in the community about all the things we love to talk about. Lots of different rooms there. Stay up to date about everything we're doing here at the Triple S League. Click the link below to join, and be sure to say hi to us in the welcome channel. You can also find links to the Patreon, the merch store, everything down in the description below this podcast. And don't forget to subscribe over on our main channel, the Triple S League. This is Triple S Podcasts. Check out the Triple S League if you're new to our show. This is our weekly news recap that we've moved to a second channel, but we do have tons of other varied content on our main channel. Encourage you to check out. So, Moon, what's been going on the Discord server lately?
Oh man, there are so many pictures and videos in the animals channel that are absolutely great. I saw this guy giving this bear ear rubs. Oh my goodness, it was so adorable. So adorable. Yes. Also food channel. I've
You
been
see a
posting recipes
bear?
that I really want. Yes, there was a bear. There was a bear and a guy in a camo suit. It was practically like the bear was by himself, but there were these hands that were giving him ear rubs, just out of nowhere.
I gotta tell you guys a
That
funny.
sounds extraordinarily dangerous.
It does. It does.
It was a very tame looking bear. I think it was probably Russia.
domesticated. A Russian bear. Yeah. Those Russians, they don't
Yes.
mess around. I gotta tell
That
you guys.
bear was totally behaving like a dog. So freaking cute.
So we just became owners of a couple of Netherlands dwarf rabbits. There are the pets for our daughters that we gave them. They wanted something more interesting than fish. So, they had proved themselves with the fish. We're like, okay, you're ready for something bigger. So they're learning some responsibility with that and such. But anyway, so they're very young. They're not fixed yet. And they're probably not, it's a male and a female. So, of course, we're in danger territory if they're together unsupervised. They probably can't create little rabbits yet, but you never know when that's going to kick in. So, anyway.
Within the year.
Yeah, exactly. So, so my kids were cleaning out the bunny hutches, and the rabbits were in this little, this enclosed thing we got to, where they can run around a bit. And my younger daughter, who is now, they don't have full details on the facts of life yet, but they know the basics. And we've explained, if you see if you see that one climbing on top of that one from behind, we got to put a stop to it because they're trying to make baby bunnies. And so, anyway, we put them in this little enclosed thing with some hay that they were eating, and my younger daughter's just laying there watching them instead of cleaning the hutch. And we're like, what are you doing? And she's like, I was like, what are you doing? Watching them have their bunny snack? And she's like, yep. And making sure they don't make a bunny stack without missing a beat. Just like, my wife and I almost died laughing. It was unbelievable. And my other daughter's like, what's so funny? Anyway. So, all right. Does that thing, did you want to read that message there, Moon?
Oh. Like, which one? There's so many good ones. Terrake is like, dwarf rabbits? Did I dig for golden gems? Kiske says, kids tend to be excited about babies, though.
Yeah, no, I sent I did in the podcast notes channel there.
I didn't see that. Oh, okay.
I pinged you and everything.
Oh, there it is. Terrake says, rewarding the right thing is good, but rewarding the right thing when the right thing is the only undoing the mistakes that made in the past is not. Oh my gosh, I read that terribly. I'm sorry. I don't know. At the same time, it's like, would you rather deal with a system of like positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement? Because from experience, negative reinforcement is very depressing and very like, I don't know. In some cases, like there can be a time and a place, but as like the normal mode of discipline or regulation, it's kind of toxic. It's like, people like to be praised. People like to receive accolades and whatnot, right? So it's like, if we want to keep them on a better track, why not, we can still point out the things that they're doing wrong, but we can also still have the grace to like applaud when they do something right or when they're like on the right track. Otherwise, like, it's basically like if all you have is negative feedback, it's like you're putting somebody into a box that they can't escape out of because just nothing they do seems good enough. So why bother trying to change what doesn't seem to change?
That's an interesting point. I wonder though, like that's when you're talking about personal relationships, that definitely I would agree. I don't know if you're talking about dealing with a company that's selling you a product. I don't know if the same necessarily applies, but I think in general, yeah, we should reward the good and, as well as express when we're not happy with it.
Yeah, because like just because we're saying, hey, wow, you guys, this thing you're doing, it seems to be the right thing. This seems to be an okay path. It doesn't necessarily negate the wrong that was done, but it is a step forward away from that stuff, right? I don't
Right.
know.
And again, it's a question of, you know, if it's how do I explain this? Like nobody is forced to you know, go back and play the game, you know.
No, right?
You know, it's a matter of personal choice. Their player base, I don't think it's ever going to reach the mass it could have reached if they had done it right from the beginning. And so I think that consequence is going to be with them for a while. So, yeah. I mean, for myself, even if it becomes amazing, I'm probably not gonna go. Well, I might as part of a community thing, but yeah, it's left a sour taste in my mouth. I'm not really interested in going back to Fallout 76. You know, there are so many other good games out there that, you know, why would I go back to something that was a disappointment when there's something I haven't played yet that hasn't disappointed me. So,
Yeah, if anything, it's definitely more likely that I would go back to playing Fallout 4 to go explore like the other story paths that I didn't explore, because I was just like, oh, this seems like an interesting way. I want to see what happens, and then yeah, I want to go see the other stories. So like, if anything, I'm also content to watch Side play and ask him questions about what's going on.
yeah. All right. Well, enough on that. Got to get to two more stories before we end out the show here. This one will be quick, though. So TSR is the company started or co-founded by Gary Gygax, the creator of Dungeons and Dragons, or co-creator of Dungeons and Dragons, is it's reformed with Gary Gygax's son, Gary Gygax Jr., serving as executive vice president. I don't know who the president of the company is, but anyway, so he's going to be, you know, calling a lot of the shots there, and they're releasing an RPG called Giant Lands, which is a new science RPG by Stephen E. Deinhardt IV and James M. Ward, set on a devastated Earth. It was kickstarted back in 2019 and will be given a wide release through TSR. So, yeah, interesting. And apparently they've got several people back from the original company. So that's that's very interesting. So the original TSR, which I don't actually know what it stands. I don't remember what it stands for. It stands for something. But the original company, TSR, was purchased by Wizards of the Coast in '97. And they continued using the TSR branding on D&D products until 2000. Then a new and separate company called TSR Games was launched after Wizards of the Coast let the TSR trademark lapse, and two of Gygax's sons were involved in that. Anyway, it's a little confusing because there's TSR Games is still in operation, and they're doing other things. They have an RPG called Top Secret, apparently. But then TSR, just TSR, not TSR Games, is also back now doing RPG stuff. So, you got some thoughts on this side?
Yeah, it's obviously there's nothing here to see. There's nothing major here to see right now. But it is cool that his son is coming back, and if you look at Mike Pondsmith and his son, they've got a great thing going there. His wife too. His wife is a brilliant game creator, great at lore and creating story, and so it's kind of a family thing. So I'm hoping that we will see great things from these people in the near future, and that we will have something really, really cool that will hopefully, bring and create more interest, more community, more everything, right?
Yeah.
That's what I hope to see. And my fingers are crossed. Fingers are very much crossed. So I hope so. And yeah, the creator of D&D, like, he's back, and that's a good thing. I am legitimately happy with that.
Yeah, well, I'm sure a lot of his influence still lives on in his son and in the people that he worked with that are now back. So that's cool to see. And according to Terran K, who of course would know this, he's a big RPGer. TSR stands for Tactical Studies Rules. Now I don't know if it still stands for that or if they just just call it TSR now. But yeah, there you go. That's that one. And now, speaking of things coming back from the dead, so EA is reportedly going to revive an established IP. This is apparently going to be announced next month. It's going to be coming from Motive Studio. And according to Jeff Grubb, who likes to leak out little tidbits like this, he says, I think you'll be happy. So we'll be supposedly seeing that next month. Now, what are we going to be seeing is the question that remains. What are we, which established IP? So presumably, revival. So it's not something that's had games come out recently, I think is the implication there. So it's not Star Wars, it's not, anything like that. Probably not. I mean, I'm guessing it's not Mass Effect, something like that. I mean, obviously, wrong studio.
I don't think Mass Effect is dead, and they have announced, that they're working on the next game. So
yeah,
they've already teased some images. So no, I don't believe that is. I really don't believe that that's what people are talking about and expecting to see.
So, Motive is apparently working on a new Star Wars game, but that is, I mean, Star Wars doesn't need a revival. I mean, I would be okay with a complete reboot in some ways, just like from the ground up, everything except for the original trilogy, but that's never going to happen, let's face it. So anyway, what could this be? Do you have any ideas?
The one that immediately comes to my mind is the space horror game. Darn it, I forgot the name of it. I looked it up earlier today. I'm like, I can't remember. I got to remember how to spell this now because nope, totally forgot. So the space horror one where the dude's like a miner, he's got a mining laser type thing, and he's fighting these like biological menace creatures that come out of nowhere. Someone please help me. Dead Space. Thank you.
Dead Space. And Dead Space, yeah. So those were developed by Visceral, and
which is now dead.
That studio's gone, so it could be that.
Could be new. What was the Titan one too? Could be the Robot Titans are back.
Okay.
That is a distinct possibility as well. But both of these games are basically, well, the Titan one's not dead. The servers sure are. If you were to stream Titanfall 2, if you stream Titanfall 2 with more than like 10 people watching, you will be immediately DDoSed out of existence in that game. Basically immediately. And it's because a bunch of hackers are basically running the whole show, and EA couldn't give two craps of a rat's tail.
Fantastic. All right, is there anything more to say about this then? Wait, there definitely is. Are they going to butcher it? I should say, wait, that's not the right question. The right question, how badly are they going to butcher whatever they're reviving here?
So back a couple of years ago, there was this one lady who was given the control over the basically she's the one who's been behind basically allowing the studios to become successful recently, and she went out of her way to find out why people hated her company so much and to try and find a solution for it. So yeah, that happened, and she's been trying to like come up with solutions now for a while. And her solution was to basically not to get in these studios' way, to let them do and create what they want to. So will it be good? I don't know. It depends on how much of that is gonna like bleed over, right? How much of that freedom of control, freedom from tyranny, one might say, and see where that goes. So yeah.
Hmm.
Did you want to? I really wanted you to read that one quote that you sent me earlier this morning when we were talking about the other thing. Did you want to read that?
Is that, well, it'd be very out of
I mean,
context here.
well, yeah, it was mostly for our last story. But all right, well, we'll find some way of sticking that in the future. I am quite positive that that will become a continuing problem in the future. So yeah, we gotta just make sure that we add that. Some
Wait,
point.
you're talking about game devs getting canceled?
Well, just I mean, just gamers being canceled and controlled by somebody who believes that they know what's better for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We don't have time to get into it now, but it's something we're keeping a close eye on. I mean, we had the situation with Scott Cawthon. We had the situation now with the Factorio dev. That backfired hilariously. Sales for that game shot up after they tried that, and that one was so stupid. If you haven't heard, so the developer of Factorio was the center of some controversy this week. I'm doing
controversy.
I'm doing the air quotes.
No.
I'm doing the air quotes. So basically, he recommended, I think it was a book on coding or some material about coding by some other guy. He recommended. And then somebody was like, did you know that this guy, he I don't remember what it was, but it's like he supports President Trump or something. And basically the guy, the developer behind Factorio, turned around and said, take that cancel culture attitude and shove it up your ass. That's almost a direct quote. The shove it up your ass part is a direct quote. I don't know if I got the other words exactly correct, but bottom line, and then he explained himself later too. He was like, and it was really he put it in terms that really made a lot of sense to me. He was like, first of all, I'm not from America. Why do I give a shit about your American politics? I've got my own country's politics to worry about. And I just recommended this book on coding because it's a good book on coding. And I don't, there's this faction of people out there now that they have to know the political stances of everybody that, that creates something. And plus it's tribalistic. So, if you're against them on one issue, then you're the enemy. And he was like, yeah, you have this need to categorize me as either a friend or an enemy. You have to put me somewhere on your political spectrum, but I'm not playing that game. I was like, good on you. And what a great way to say it too. Like, why do not me, not us here at the Triple S League really, but why do people have this compulsive need to want to label you as something, to want to put you in a certain camp, to want to put you somewhere on their spectrum? It's so stupid.
Well, it kind of feels like it's the simplistic way that they can make sense of things without really thinking too hard about it, because it's all surface stuff. And they make broad assumptions from like what they know without actually like trying to understand more, maybe like why that person is, or just like hecking enjoy the product.
Well, there's that. And well, first of all, yeah. Like if I see a movie with some actor who's said stuff on Twitter I disagree with, but they do a good job, they're a good actor. Like that's all I care about. That's why I'm paying the ticket to see the movie. I'm not
You're paying for the skill, not their politics.
I'm paying for a good movie. I'm not paying because I support the beliefs of everybody involved in making the film, which is literally impossible.
Because
But-
like it takes all kinds to make the world. You know, all kinds of cookies in here.
Yeah, and I think there are. I mean, there are ideas out there that I strongly disagree with, but also support the right of people to have those ideas. And if they want to sit
Right.
down and have a discussion with me about it, I'll do it. I'll talk to them. But there's no room for nuance anymore. You know,
No.
it's like if you disagree with me, clearly you can't be convinced. Clearly you are evil, and clearly you must think this and this and this and this because I've put all these different perspectives in a box, and I've got no room for nuance. And you know, I've got to classify the entire world into black and white because there's no shades of gray anywhere. And of course, I am the arbiter of. I know everything that's correct, and nothing I believe could possibly be wrong. Like that's how I see these people.
It's very arrogant.
And I'm just, it makes me laugh now. I'm like, this is so silly. And once you hit your 30s, I see one of two things happen. Like, they either they'll either change their opinions as they grow and mature and realize, oh, oh, there is the world is a little more complicated than I thought, or they hang on to that mentality and then they become bitter and alone and just nasty people who no one wants to be around because they're no fun. They're no fun. That's the other thing about this group of people. They want to destroy fun.
How dare you enjoy yourself when I'm in such a miserable state? How dare you?
Yeah. Scott Cawthon's a conservative. We gotta know when she plays games. Oh, this he quoted someone who thinks this. Blah, blah, blah. Shut up. Okay, there's my rant for the night. So, all right. And anyway, well, now that I've said all that, I'll read the quote because now it'll be in context. Or you want to read it?
The biggest, well, no, you read the quote. The biggest thing that I see from all, like, my biggest issue with all of this stuff is that they're all hypocrites. Like they are, like, every person who's out there stouting, I know it's better for you, is a hypocrite because they have either done something or said something in the past. It's always so funny. It's like one of the first things like oh, I'm about to become a leader of the, you know, so whatever, like, you know, short-term movement there is. And it's like, what's the first thing I should do? Delete all of your history on every single one of your social medias because you broke the rules at some point. For sure you did. And because of that, you will be destroyed. Well, so yeah, get rid of it while you can.
And everybody, that's the thing. Everybody has said stupid things back when they were younger and done stupid things. And it's just now it's all out on the internet for people to dig up. But like I mean, 10 years ago, I had, you know, thoughts and you know, and then 5 or 10 years before that, I look back at some of the stuff I used to think, some stuff I wrote from that period of time. I'm like, wow, I was stupid. I just want to go back in time and slap myself. Smarten the hell up.
When I was still a teenager, I was trying to design a program that would do a lot of things that I no longer believe are very valuable. You remember some of those, right?
Kill all the shrimp in the sea. The prawn.
Yeah. Kill all the shrimp in the sea. Yeah, that was an actual plan of mine. Turns out I was incredibly misguided, but yeah.
Well, yeah, and again, yeah, there's, you know, I used to be more on that, you know, things I didn't like, I wanted to, you know, I wanted people to not hear about or know about. I used to be more on that censorship bandwagon, and have come to realize, well, that's not a good way to approach it. You've got to have freedom of expression and freedom of speech, or it just, you know, things go really bad really fast. You know, you've got to engage with bad ideas. You don't try to restrict people from hearing them. But anyway, This is the quote.
Well, you can, but it's just censorship never goes the way that some people think it goes.
No, and it's just wrong too. Like I've come to consider it to be morally wrong, because you are denying that person the ability to grow in their own maturity and knowledge and wisdom. Anyway, this is the quote that Saib wanted me to read. Of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. It would be better to live under robber barons than under omnipotent moral busybodies. The robber baron's cruelty may sometimes sleep. His cupidity may at some points be satiated. But those who torment us for our own good will torment us without end, for they do so with the approval of their own conscience. It's a quote from C.S. Lewis. I don't know which of his books that's from. But yeah, I think he got it there.
Isn't that just a general quote from him? Was it actually in his book?
I think it's part of a book or an article or something. Most of the quotes are. Anyway, and we will wrap it up there. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Thank you for being with us live or after the fact. Please hit that like button. If you haven't yet, leave comments down below, and we would love to see you on the Discord server, so come check it out.
And if you do not slam that like button, you yourself will be visited by Mr. Nimbus. Mr. Nimbus.
This is me pretending I get the reference. Yeah. So
I sent you the link.
you assume that I have time the moment that you send me a video to watch, that I have time to watch it. That's rarely true.
So if you guys haven't seen it, the latest episode of Rick and Morty is out on YouTube for everybody to watch, and it features Rick's arch enemy, Mr. Nimbus.
There you go. All right, everybody. A special thanks to our Patreon supporters and channel members. You've seen their names in gold and silver up at the top of the screen throughout the podcast today. Really appreciate those folks. Helps us get stuff done. This is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel, our other YouTube channel, the Triple S League, for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Ash. On behalf of Saib and Moontag, thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you again very soon.